advantage. Tom Graham, Fox News.
President Trump's
I can't believe we're actually having to discuss men playing women and it being fair.
Doesn't
make good nonsense.
I mean, yeah.
This month marks 20 years for us on Fox, on your radio, breaking news every hour, every day. You can always get more headlines at foxnewsradio.com.
All right, bud.
I'm Dave Anthony.
Orange County depends on WDXE News. On the air since 1951. This is The Legend. 105.3, 95.3. WDXE.
Hey, that's us, WDXE. It's time for the Friends and Neighbors Hour, of course, brought to you by Hood Company, powered by Keller Williams, the #1 name in real estate. We think so, anyway. And my friend Burt Staggs is in here. Burt's a longtime acquaintance of mine. Go back to my early days of WDXE, and of course was a part of the stations here for a while.
Yeah.
And you went on to bigger and better and brighter things, I guess, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I miss the early mornings getting in here and being done.
Yeah. Well, I'm not done when I leave.
No.
So anyway. Well, also Burt is a native of Wayne County, our neighboring county here, and I wanted you to kind of give us a little bit of your family history. And bring us up to speed on that, because your dad was Babe Staggs.
Yes, sir.
Known as Babe. Now I don't think that wasn't his name.
His given name was Floyd Staggs. He had no middle name.
Floyd Staggs. But everybody called him Babe. Do you know why?
I believe it was my uncle. He said something about he sure looks like a babe or something, and it stuck.
Oh, okay.
I assume he was a rather handsome fellow in his day.
Well, now let's go back beyond him. How far back can you tell us some family history?
Oh, I can go back to now my brother Blake, who you know is the family historian. So my grandfather on my dad's side was also Floyd.
Okay.
Floyd Staggs. My mother was my grandmother was in Navy, and he led an interesting life. He was a foreman at one of those big mills, but he also served as a deputy sheriff and a constable and a U.S. marshal or marshal of some sort.
Okay.
That was on my dad's side. My mom, I had one of those things. Her dad died. His name was Charlie Irwin.
Okay.
And he died when she was 16. So the man I knew as my grandfather was Townsend Keaton, and I always called him Paul. And I look at it as that's my Paul. That's the only one I ever knew.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was Ruby Keaton.
Okay.
And then Ruby Irwin. And then my great-grandmother and grandfather, I always just knew them as Big Mama and Big Daddy.
And there's all the family in Waynesboro, Wayne County?
Well, it's kind of funny. Apparently there are no Staggses that know each other that are related. We joke about this all the time. And a lot of them are from North Alabama.
Yeah.
And then on my mom's side, it gets into those Irwin and Carrs, the funeral home over in Giles County.
Oh, yeah.
So that ties in the Carrs and the Irwins and the Fitzpatricks in Giles County. So there's a joke that somebody told me about Staggs, because I don't know any that I'm related to, except just, the very close ones. Somebody told me there was a family reunion, turn of the century, and a tornado come up, and people grabbed kids and ran off, and that's why we don't know who we're related to. Sounds like a good reason to me.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, now, so your dad grew up, I guess, in the Waynesboro area.
He grew up in Collinwood. North Alabama.
I was in Collinwood yesterday. So
I was too.
Were you?
Yeah.
We were putting up auction signs down there. So,
I may have seen them on the way back.
But anyway, so he grew up in the Collinwood area. And so how did he, what did he do as a young man, and how did he get started?
He was, my dad, when my grandfather worked at the sawmill, or was the foreman over some part of the sawmill over there, Haskell and Hughes.
Saw that yesterday.
Yeah, and my dad kind of followed in his footsteps, and then he went. His brother I was on boats, so he applied with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And he worked with the Corps of Engineers, later became a first mate, which I didn't realize that was a big deal, but that's a big deal apparently. And he worked on a boat called the Potter, which is the oldest serving dredge in the U.S. Fleet, still active.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when we lost him, I called, and they gave us a tour. We went near St. Louis, and I wanted to just reconnect with Dad, I think.
Yeah.
And so he worked with that. And then I guess you're probably going to ask how did we get back to Wayne County, because
Yes.
at this point we were living in Memphis. I grew little years were in Memphis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, and then Dad taught me back then that the Mississippi River was the only thing it was is Minnesota mud going south. And so anywhere from Minnesota to the southern part of Louisiana is kind of where we lived.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
And then I write about this every Martin Luther King Day. Dad lived when they were dry docked, he lived in a little place called the Pontotoc Hotel.
Okay.
Which is right off Front Street in Memphis. It's the next street over. And he was there. He happened to be away that day that Martin Luther King was assassinated, and it was literally across the street.
Oh, wow.
If you look at the Pontotoc, go to the corner, you can see the Lorraine.
Oh, wow.
And so that led to rioting, as people remember.
Sure.
And
Sure.
there's a funny story. My dad had a rifle in the trunk, and my mom wrapped it in baby diapers because they were looking for rifles.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back in the day. So, and if I tear up these, I'm sorry. But later on, I believe it was 68, 69, 70, right in that area.
Uh-huh.
My nieces have trouble with this. I was in a school, or going to go to kindergarten in Memphis, and we were selected for busing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and people didn't know it. Today, they don't know about desegregation.
Right, right.
So I was going to be bused 26 miles as a kindergartner.
Oh, wow.
And my dad put in his retirement papers, started looking for businesses, and he was looking at a warehouse in Parsons to start some kind of business there. But Alton Ray wanted to sell his grocery store in Waynesboro.
Okay.
And so that's what led us back to Waynesboro.
Oh, okay.
And each year I thank Dr. Martin Luther King for changing a lot of people's lives, but changing mine.
Okay.
Because if that doesn't happen, I don't know any of y'all. I would have just grew up in Memphis.
Grew up in Memphis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that brought him back to Waynesboro.
Yes, sir.
And he bought a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
How long did he run that grocery
He ran that thing for, let's see, 72 to about 95.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got to know your dad a little bit. He would come to my auctions.
He loved your
He
auction.
loved coming to the auctions and always super friendly. And he'd buy stuff.
Oh, yeah, we still got it. We may still have it. You want it back?
He's got probably barns full of stuff. I don't know.
We have 4 houses full.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, you and I have talked about that in the past. How about that? Well, so that brings you, and then you spent your what years? How old were you really when you came to Waynesboro?
I would have been probably about, how old did you go to kindergarten? 6.
So 6, 7 years old?
6, 7 years old.
Yeah, okay. And so from that point forward, you became a Wayne
I
County.
became a Wayne County.
Grew up there, went to school there, graduated school there,
Yes.
all that kind of stuff. So what'd you do as a young man?
I just, I mostly played baseball. I always thought I was going to be the shortstop for the New York Yankees going forward. That's what I wanted to do.
All of us wanted to be that.
Yeah, I would have been the shortstop for the Yankees. I would have replaced Bucky then. Yeah.
So I didn't know that about you, though. I didn't know you
Yeah.
were a baseball player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was skinny back then.
Oh, really?
Man, I weighed like, I graduated high school like 120 pounds. My leg weighs more than that now.
Well, we've got old.
Yeah.
We've got old.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, by the way, we normally say, and is always here, the phone lines are open, 766-9393. If you got something you want to share with Burt, or maybe do his dad, or
Yeah.
any of that, things like that, the lines are open, and you can talk or ask questions. But I wanted to kind of get to how you came up. After high school, what'd you do after high school?
After high school, I worked for Brown Foreman, one of the largest construction companies in the world, for a little while. And that my uncle was the projects manager out in California. And I realized that's hard work.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
And so I piddled around a while, and then went off to college, and I didn't finish, and majored in political science, and I've always had that interest,
Yeah, yeah.
in not what we call politics today, but what really politics is.
Yeah.
The behind the scenes, the inner workings of the machine.
Right.
So that was always an interest, and then and I piddled around with odd jobs, but I made a real good living at one point dealing in sports memorabilia.
Oh, yeah, I think you've told me about that before.
It
I
kept me
forgot
going-
about
It
that.
kept me going for a long time, like your local Raphael Elledge and some of these people, and Jeff Weeks and different people, and so I did that for several years, and it was very lucrative, and it's making a comeback.
Sports memorabilia. What's been some of the stuff that you've had that you remember that maybe sticks out?
Oh, at one point I had multiple 33 Gowdy Babe Ruths and T206 Ty Cobbs and things like that. I still have a couple in the safe deposit box, but
Really?
yeah, we had some great stuff. And me and my dad looking at a '52 Mickey Mantle, and we turned it down for $600. and,
Oh, wow.
And now that thing is probably worth $50,000.
Oh my gosh! Now, when you say a 52 Mickey Mantle, is that a bat or a glove?
It's a baseball card.
Baseball card.
52 tops Mickey
Oh,
Mantle.
cards. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those were, and then I got into game used jerseys for a while, but that's
You know, some of that stuff kind of comes and goes. doesn't it?
yes, and right, it's back right now,
Really?
but it's now it's not what it used to be. If you go to Walmart today and look at a box of baseball cards, of course everything goes up, but in my day it was what, 50 cents a pack, 18 pack, $9. Now there's packs down there, there's boxes at Walmart that's $100, and you can buy them $500-600 a box, $700 a box, thousands of dollars a box now. But it's really like the lottery now. You're looking for one specific card, hoping you pull that one card. So it's just so
It is
different.
almost like the lottery.
You might as well go up and scratch a lottery ticket off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So people are still doing that, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh yeah, it's big.
You know,
right now.
comic books were a thing, and still are.
Yes.
To some folks, of course, being in the auction business, we run across collections of one sort or another, and people have saved them. One thing that I've watched kind of come and go is glassware.
We talked about this a couple days ago with me and my friend.
Yeah, glassware used to be, a lot more collectible than it is now, seems to be. But it ebbs and flows. I mean, it may come back again.
Yeah.
Teresa, many, many years ago, she collected a certain type of dish. There was Depression glass.
Right.
And then there was the Blue Ridge dishes. People collect Blue Willow. There's lots of them.
One of the ones that comes back and forth there, I don't think it may never come back, but there was those baskets that had a German name. I can't remember.
Oh gosh.
They had the little German name on it. I can't remember the name of it, but people wanted those at every auction you could see.
Oh gosh.
And milk glass.
Milk glass was one. The baskets, I'm not remembering.
Luckenbacher, no.
Carnival glass was
big.
Was big. And some of these figurines are kind of popular. There was Hummel.
Hummel.
You remember the Hummels?
Yes.
Now were they German?
Sounds German.
I think they might have been. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get off too much on that because I want to come back.
Yeah.
I want to come back to what has brought you into the world that you're in now.
Ooh.
You have developed quite a following.
It grows.
With Facebook, Instagram,
A little Instagram, a little TikTok.
and TikTok,
Yeah.
those kind of things. What's your biggest following in?
Cumulative, I actually did a talk show over in West Tennessee last night in Paris, and they did the numbers. Apparently, cumulative, I have 450,000 followers. I don't keep up with it anymore. And last month's reach, they did part of it. Burt and S. Staggs page did 28 million views last
Now,
month.
what's the page?
Burton S. Staggs.
Burton
Yeah, that's what my mama calls me when she's mad.
S. Staggs. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to look that because you've got more than one.
Yeah.
You got more than one, but Burton S. Staggs
That's
is your kind of commercial.
That's the commercial.
Yes, and so what started that? I mean, how did you decide to do that kind of a thing? It starts out with people just making comments.
Yeah, that's where it starts out. And well, it started. You and I worked together at the old WDXE,
That's right.
and it's kind of started there. And I was calling it. You guys have a great little page here, Lawrenceburg now, Lawrence
Yes.
County now, and I modeled it after that. It was just going to be Wayne County now, and that was the start.
Right.
And then as we left WDXE and different things happened, I modified that. That page started growing.
Right.
And the catalyst, and I always hate to say this because it's sad.
Right.
But the catalyst was the death of Holly Bobo. And
Yeah, I remember you that kind of started you.
that launched me.
You were like an investigative reporter more or
Yeah.
less,
Right.
and you would report on your Facebook page.
Yeah. And that led me to getting calls from Law and Crime Network, Nancy Grace, and all these people and appearing on their shows, even in the Wall Street Journal.
That's crazy.
And then it grew literally from that, and we are where we are today.
The Holly Bobo story, Can you give us kind of a short synopsis of what took place there? I know that
in 2011, she was a nursing student in Decatur County, Tennessee. She was kidnapped in Darden, sadly raped, murdered, and it took about 7 years to find out who did it. And then we went to trial. They were convicted, and it continues today because 2 weeks ago we were in Hardin County for post-conviction appeals.
wow.
And I'm actually a witness. I have gone from the investigative reporter to a witness in this. I'm subpoenaed for the case because the state. The short version is the defense is saying that he didn't get effective counsel, that his lawyer didn't do proper. And the state actually read one of my blog posts and said his attorney at the time, when she came into the media room, I said, Jennifer, what do you think about the verdict? And she kind of tossed her hands up and says, what was I supposed to do? He told everybody. And so they subpoenaed me. They want to put me on the stand to say, did she tell you he told everybody?
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. We ran out of time last week. We had 4 days in Hardin County, and now we're going to come back in the fall and in the winter to finish it out. We got 60 witnesses.
Why did it? Of course, I don't want to just rehearse that whole case, but why did it take so long?
That's just sadly. You talking about the initial arrest?
Yeah. Why did it take so long to figure out who did this?
They were going in a different direction. The TBI agent that was in the thing, to use their words, he got tunnel vision and was just looking at one person when literally the right people were off to the right.
Okay.
And he just, in my opinion, and the state's opinion, he just messed up.
Yeah.
He was looking at a known sex offender, and he was going down that route. And I think at the time, Jeff, we didn't have an understanding of methamphetamine and all those things that we do today. You know, if we could look at 2011 with 2025's eyes, things would be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe it's been that long ago.
It is, hasn't it? Yeah.
Been that long. So you've been at this, and that started this journey.
Yes.
To and I'm looking at your Burt and Staggs Facebook
Yeah.
now while we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost news-like stories. I mean, it's just press releases, and then do you make comments or?
I do. I don't make as many comments as I used to because it's overwhelming. Sometimes that thing gets 5,000 comments a day. So I don't. I'm trying to use a new adage that one of the social media influencers that I know told me. He told me, post it and ghost it. I said, I kind of like that.
Post it and ghost it.
Post it, then get away from it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess at first you try to answer everybody.
Yeah, you're trying to answer.
Try to answer everybody, which people like though.
Yes.
They like that back and forth, especially on the Facebook thing.
They do, and I still try, but it's impossible at this point. It's too large.
Well, you started out with the Holly Bobo case thing. Tell me what your thought process was when you decided to kind of chase that.
It was it kind of started accidentally. I'm going ahead. Let's just go back to the old day because it's kind of funny if you can look at it that way. We used to work with Brad Brown, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And if you remember, Brad got sick, and I filled in some on the morning show for him, and that led to me meeting her cousin. We needed a guest, Kim and Missy at the time.
Yeah.
And we called. They were talking about her being on Say Yes to the Dress. So I just happened to know her from the parties.
Okay.
So I called her. She did our show. And then as our change went with WDXE, I went to doing some promotional work, and I called her to do a concert. And lo and behold, the concert group, charged Holly's mom and dad and brother to get in. She came over and told me, she said, they charged, I told her what I was getting ready to start doing, a news thing.
Yeah.
She took me over, and we met. We had a good long talk, and that's how it started.
So you met the family?
Yeah, I got to meet the family, and we built a rapport.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. Okay.
So I guess I can thank Brad Brown for getting sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's turned into just an out-and-out career for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It has.
So you're making. I'm trying to find something here that we could comment on.
Yeah.
Besides that one.
Yeah.
What are some that have stuck out and got the most attention?
Well, let's see. Well, we're just on the anniversary today. Would have been the funeral for Sergeant Daniel Baker, who was murdered in Dixon County. I just happened to look at my memories today. I was at his wake or funeral today 7 years ago. Then there was the Joe Clyde Daniels case, also in Dixon, the baby that disappeared, and his parents were convicted of murdering him. Those jump out, and then there's been multiple others now that Law and Crime contracts me to do their analysis work.
Now tell me about that.
Well, Law and Crime Network, they're kind of like a court TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're just like court TV, and they do streaming of trials. So I'll go sit in on the trial and then offer trial analysis on what the day's events were and things like that. So I've become a trial analysis in a weird way.
Now, is that something that you post on your page?
I do. I will from time to time, but a lot of times I do it live with them, and I just let them post it and I'll share it. So, and in that case,
Now, where are they located?
They're located in New York City.
Well, how does that take place? You're going to New York?
No, they mail me equipment. I go to a courthouse and wherever in Tennessee, and we just set up the equipment. It taps in and it broadcasts. It's kind of like you simulcasting right now.
Okay.
Same thing.
All right. Technology.
Technology
Holy
has
cow.
gotten to be something. Yeah, I can be in New York or wherever, but still. And one reason they use me a lot is being here on the Alabama-Mississippi border.
Yeah.
So I can cover 3 states in 45 minutes.
Okay.
So
So they're how does a case get to them? How does that?
They scour the country for these cases and looking at it, and
So they're creating a show based on some of these crime activities.
yeah. Right now they're probably doing Karen Reed up in D.C. or wherever that is. That's the big case going on right now.
Okay. Well, I'm in the dark. So
Yeah.
tell me about that case. What's the deal?
Karen Reed is accused of murdering her boyfriend, who was a cop, by running over him, and she said it was an accident, and they're saying it's on purpose.
Oh, okay. I remember hearing just a little bit about that. Now, where did that take place?
I think it's up in the Northeast somewhere.
Up in the Northeast. So
Yeah.
they're focused up there.
Yeah, they're focused
and
up
they're
there.
making a show on this.
Yeah.
You know what strikes me a little bit about this is, and of course this is nothing new, is evidently we are somewhat entertained by the criminal element.
We are so entertained by it that
We've always been.
we always have. It just was in newspaper.
The crime shows, Columbo.
Sure.
You remember all those old movies? I mean,
Yeah.
we've always been, but now it's a reality.
It is reality TV.
It's reality TV and reality internet,
Except it's real lives that are being touched.
and that's the hard part.
Yes.
That's the hard part when you start thinking about the cost of the real life or the family. It kind of I don't know. I feel like we're somewhat sensitive to that, especially here in the South. Maybe.
I've learned in the last couple of years, and you and I discussed a couple things that locally. I think I told you, somebody told me that my page had become boring locally.
Yeah.
And I think, back to Dad a minute, I think as Dad got sick and things happened, and I'm not going to say it made me soft, it made me realize that life is precious.
Yeah.
And, well, you and I discussed that tragic Mother's Day wreck down there. And I just started thinking, that's somebody's baby. That doesn't have to be covered today. We can wait. It's Mother's Day. So I've stepped back a little bit on those things.
Well, especially when it's close.
Yes.
We're talking about the deal that happened up in Washington. That's it's a distance from us.
Right.
It doesn't touch anybody we know right here around us.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you've kind of expanded into more of a regional, at least, coverage in what you're doing rather than just right here in our backyard.
Well, it's a lot easier. I have a large following in, I call them the river counties, like from Hardin County up to Benton County.
Right.
I think it makes it easier for me because I don't live there. I don't have to intermingle every day.
Right.
And so you can talk about those cases without, just feeling them every day.
Right.
And that means a lot. Of course, I jokingly say, if you cover all the stuff locally really close, you're going to sit down in one of the restaurants or in a ball game or something, going, I have a story about that guy over there,
Do you do anything besides that are? I mean, I'm browsing your page while we're talking.
Yeah.
So, and I'm seeing a lot of just crime events.
It's mostly crime on that page, but I've started a page called Burt's Backroads and Crossroads. And
Some fun stuff.
some fun stuff, because after a while, your whole life, morning, noon, and night, is about death.
Yeah,
Or terrible. So I've started thinking, and hey, what better thing for a fat boy to do than review restaurants, and just talk about that.
hey, I'll help you with that.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. I mean, you can sit down and talk about a good bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
And people wonder why I do that, because I really don't want to think about that murder over there the rest of the day. I like to write it, get it done, then go out and find a good restaurant or enjoy a day with Wilder.
Right.
There's a funny post Wilder told me he was never drinking beer yesterday.
Who did?
My grandson.
Okay,
Wilder.
good.
I said, why are you never drinking beer? He said, well, I saw on YouTube that the reason it makes you crazy is that it's grain and water mixed. As it rots, the bacteria eats that and it poops, and that's what drives you crazy. I said, okay, keep that.
So he read that.
Yes. So there's a video there of him talking about
All right.
bacteria poop.
So I'm looking at one of your other, I guess your Burt Scott Staggs.
Yeah, that's mine.
Kind of your personal.
Yeah, I wanted to shift that more towards fun, maybe a little politics, and Wilder.
Yeah. Well, here's one. Just one of your posts.
Yeah.
It says, if get as rich as Bruce Springsteen's, if you get as rich as Bruce Springsteen's,
Right.
700 million,
700 million.
or Kid Rock, 150 million. I don't care what y'all say on social media.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on my yacht.
Yeah, if you get that rich, you're not going to talk about it anymore.
No. You don't care what people say about you.
Uh,
I'm gonna be out on the boat.
well, I don't know.
Yeah, it's mostly just for fun. And,
It is.
and your engagements and things down through there, and
And I see that you always seem to want to tease people into commenting.
that's right. It's called engagement.
That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So you're challenging people to comment on your stuff. Now, what benefit is there to the comments?
I mean, if we're going to be honest about it, and I try to be honest about this, because there's a case in West Tennessee where this young lady has been involved in different things, and she likes to use TikTok to play the "oh woe is me" party and then make money off of it. And I'll tell her, I said, why don't you just be honest? We're making money off of this, you know. So yeah, it's because of engagements. I assume that Facebook looks at those posts and they say that 76% of the people commenting on this post are female from 40 to 55, and they know to put that, they'll sell that into to real estate, or they'll sell it into dresses or whatever, because I know my average viewer is female 44 to 60. That 76% of them are. I know that you know your demographics and what you're shooting for.
Right.
So I tend to kind of target that and go into that group, and then there's a lot of true crime people in that age. So
True crime.
I tend to stick with that.
See, I'm not a true crime fan.
I'm not either, really. People say, "Do you watch this? Do you watch this?" I said, "No, I live it." I said, "I go away from it."
I'm just not. But I mean, a lot of people are.
Yeah.
Last night, when we go to bed, we usually watch a little bit of TV before lights out.
Right.
And I'm usually watching the news.
Right.
I'm a Fox News follower, more or less.
Yeah.
And so I'll watch some of that a little bit. But now, if Teresa gets the remote, she has gotten into watching these. I don't know what the name of the show is, but it's where they try to find the drugs coming in the country.
I don't know that one either.
It's usually at airports.
Yeah.
And they're drug screening, and they're catching these people that are drug smugglers. That's what they're doing. They're catching drug smugglers, and you don't even have to have the audio on to know what's going on. You know, they've got the drug sniffing dogs, and they've got the guys, and you'd be, when you're watching it, you're just shocked at how many different creative ways that these people find to hide the drugs that are bringing into the country. And they're flying in with it in their suitcases or whatever. And then last night it was they were looking at shipping. You know, you don't think about this, but people are shipping it.
Yeah.
And so they're examining all these packages that are coming in and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing, pretty amazing. But that's what she likes to watch.
Yeah.
She likes to watch that for some reason.
Yeah.
Just a little entertainment, I guess.
Does she still like mowing the yard?
When she can, yes. She doesn't let me mow much. But Daniel's got to where he's taking over mowing.
I figured that out because just we were talking about Dad a little while ago.
Yeah.
He mowed all the time, and I thought, why is he doing this all the time?
Yeah.
And those duties have fallen to me, I think. So so I mow, and I was out there on the mower the other day, and I remembered you back in the day. You told me your wife liked to mow.
Yeah.
And it hit me. It was peaceful.
Oh yeah.
And I had a good little tear, thinking Dad should be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I went around. I got under a pine tree, and I just sat for a little while.
Well, I tell you, you can get away from it mowing and get away from things.
Yes, sir.
The last mowing I actually did, and I put the headphones on, and I was listening to a book while I mowed, and I was just lost there for a little while. So it's a good way to do it.
I'm gonna try that.
One of your posts here says Bill Lee should pardon every thief in Middle Tennessee that stole less than Todd and Julie Chrisley combined.
Yeah.
Well, explain. I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's a reality show called.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's a reality show called Crisley Knows Best. And it's,
now, what is that?
They're a family from Georgia. They actually live in Nashville now. And they colluded and did a lot of chicanery with deeds and mortgages and stuff to manage to steal $30 million.
Oh, really?
From banks. And now we'll probably get some calls because people love them. But they basically built their show on stolen money. They bought big houses and fancy cars and did all these things and had their grandmother in. But Donald Trump pardoned them. And hey, that's his right to do so. But my thought is why do we admire somebody that are thieves? And back to your television thing.
Yeah.
It seems like now.
I'm not even familiar with this. I'm really not.
It seems like the bad guy has become the hero.
In some cases.
It's becoming more and more, and I think, where are we going as a culture? But that was.
Oh,
my
Lord,
thought.
you don't even get me started on a culture.
Right. But I was thinking about when he pardoned the Crisleys, and that's absolutely his right to do so. But we look at them because they live in mansions and drive Rolls Royces as good people, successful, but it's all stolen money. But
so how did they do that? I'm totally in the dark.
It's been years, but the way I understand it, they would borrow money on real estate and different things, and then fraudulently increase the value. It's been years since I saw it.
Oh, okay.
And then they'd file bankruptcy. And so you know how that goes. And I believe it's to the tune of almost $30 million. But so they borrowed lots and lots of money.
Borrowed lots of money and then filed bankruptcy. What did they do? Hide the money somewhere?
Hide the money and did all that, and just they used the bankruptcy laws to shield their things. And so I just look at it as we classify these kind of people as successful because they're on TV and we like them. But if you say the guy downtown that we may not like, or from the other side of the tracks or something or whatever, we vilify him instead of like looking at it with one picture. And not to get biblical or anything, but a sin's a sin.
Yeah.
And we should just look at that. I just think I think we hold two people in high esteem.
So you were inviting people to comment.
Sure.
I didn't read the comments.
Yeah, I'm sure I didn't either. I might have read 2 or 3.
Somebody said Chrysler ?
Yeah. I think I had a typo. I'm notorious for driving down the road and doing this.
Yeah.
But I've stopped texting and driving recently.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You don't need to do that.
Well, I bought this big Nissan.
You got a lot of people who agreed with you on this.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, you got a lot of people who agreed with you on this statement. So we ought to pardon. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And like I said, it's for fun. It's not real. It's just fun and playing and looking for people to chat with you.
All right. Now McNairy County Sheriff's Office. Check out. Oh, it's a memorial.
To Daniel Becker. Sergeant Daniel Becker.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. I'm looking at so that's very nice. The memorial.
Oh yeah, they built a beautiful memorial to all the fallen officers in McNairy County.
That's nice.
Gorgeous. Sheriff Guy Buck should be just commended for that.
That's too long for me to read. and here's the one that you said got as much as anything.
Yeah.
Is the bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
Well, we all like bologna sandwiches.
We do, and I invite people to. How you like your bologna? Do you like Cray better? Or do you like Brian's better? And that's me escaping from murder, meth, and mayhem, as I call it.
Do you have to do something pretty much every day to stay on top of this? I mean,
Yeah.
as far as the money making aspect.
Oh yeah, you gotta you need a target. I have a target amount, but I like to do 5 to 9 posts a day, given that depending on what's breaking around the country. So I don't like to do too many because people get tired.
Burt, I gotta tell you, and you know, you and I have been friends a long
Yeah.
time, so I can say this to you. This is a do nothing job, buddy.
It's a do nothing job, but it's a do nothing job, but it works.
You got a do nothing job except just play on your phone.
Play on my phone and sit in courtrooms and read the worst things that humanity can do to you.
Well, I tell you that would be kind of hard.
Well, I'll tell you what, my buddy, you know Dennis Fair from Fox News and Nashville, Dennis Fair.
Okay, yes,
He called me the
I've
other
heard
day.
of him.
He
I've
called
heard
me
of
the other day, and he said, "Hey, we're going to be needing an assignment editor." And assignment editor is the person who picks the stories that you're going to do that day or assigns the stories.
Right.
And the one thing that I think through this all, and I guess that's where my thank yous need to come in, is that through this, I've built a great network of officers and district attorneys and TBI and things like that, and they trust you.
Well, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Do you have that, or has there been any of them that said, "Hey, mind your own business and stay out of this"?
It's never happened.
Really?
No, if it did, it was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Because I think Brent Cooper probably says it best. We went and talked to a different district attorney. He was giving me some advice, and he said, "Oh, let me tell you." He said, "Your phone's going to ring. It's going to be Burt asking you about a murder, and you're going to say, 'I don't have a murder.'" And he said, "You're going to hang up the phone, and your investigator's going to call you and say, 'Hey, Brent, we got a murder.'" And then he calls me back, or whatever, you know. So I've developed. That's how I can do it. Is trust. Through the years, I've built just a trust with these people.
Remember, I'm quoting another post.
Yeah.
It's a Peyton Manning quote.
Yeah, Peyton. Yeah.
Peyton Manning. Who doesn't like Peyton Manning?
That's right.
Remember, it's not where you start. Now, this is your post from May 26th.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning holds a record for the most interceptions thrown as a rookie.
That's right. That's
and
right.
you know the rest of the story. That's pretty interesting.
Well, see, I like that's a kind of you're not where you start. You're where you're finished.
I agree with that.
And I try to do something every so often, motivational. Somebody will think and say, "Hey."
Of course, I'm not on the news page. I'm on your play page.
Yeah, my play page. Yeah.
The news page. I was going to read one of the news articles, and I decided not to.
They're probably too long.
Well, it wasn't long. It was just I just don't know about the content.
Yeah. They're starting here lately. They've been rough.
Yeah.
We've had some really bad things happen up in Columbia and Homewall and different places. So,
yeah. The Columbia shooting. What happened up
terrible. I think one of the investigators just said unhinged. A guy may have been having a little dispute with a neighbor, and he just started shooting and shot. I mean, you know, a man's unhinged when he shoots at an ice cream truck.
Yeah,
I mean, not making light of it, but when you're reading the probable cause and you're reading the warrants and you realize this guy shot at an ice cream truck, and then the guy comes out his door to assist, and he gets shot, and you know.
Yeah, it's terrible. Just very bad. Very, very bad. Many years ago, and I don't know, hopefully it's much, much better now, but many years ago, people told me that there were areas in Columbia that you just didn't want to go into.
That's right. But you know what's bad about this one? This was not one of them.
I know.
This is extremely nice.
But it made me think about that. Yes. I know this wasn't in one of those supposed areas.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess it could happen anywhere. We pray to God that it doesn't happen near us.
Well, that's kind of like what I think I started that out with is me and one of the investigators were talking about it. You know, when it first happened, they said Somerset. I thought they said Sunnyside, which is back more towards the Mount Pleasant side of Columbia, and I thought, oh God, here we go again. Mm-hmm. And then I read it back, and I thought, wait a minute, that's up there near Spring Hill. That's that nice neighborhood. Yeah. And but you know, isn't that our worst fear? In not maybe our worst fear, but in today's society and culture, is just a random gunman. You can't plan for that.
Well, no, you
And
can't.
that's, I guess you just better be ready with the Lord.
Well, that's true. We live with a certain amount of trust with each other,
That's right.
and if that completely breaks down, then you have anarchy,
That's right.
which we don't want.
No.
So
no.
anyway, that's why some of us, some of us try to hold up that moral standard that the Bible teaches.
Yes.
That teaches us a way to be. Which brings me to another one of your posts.
Uh-oh, here we
I
go.
may pick a bone with you.
Pick a bone.
Pick a bone. I don't know you like that anyway.
Yeah.
You like that really. This was from May 18th.
Okay.
You realize today, you say, that folks that think they are Christian
Ooh, I remember this one.
are really the reason churches are shrinking. Now, you had a bunch of comments on that.
Yeah, because that came actually from a Church of Christ minister. We were
Yeah.
talking, and he said, I hear my congregation say that this is happening, this happening, this happening, and he said, my congregation doesn't realize that the kids of today are so social media savvy that is say you're in church and you're doing this and you're doing that and you're praising the Lord and you're in the choir and you're doing all these things, but they see your social media and it's profane or doing whatever. Don't want to get too much on the air about that, but if you're doing that, they're looking at your phone and going, well, they're asking me to come to church, but they sure ain't churchy, And he actually told me that was hurting his congregation as much as anything.
Really?
Yeah.
So this came from a
A
minister.
Church of Christ minister.
Minister who says that his congregation are posting things that aren't in line with what they should be.
Yeah, and the kids today they're not as, they're more savvy.
So they're watching you.
They're watching you.
And they've always watched you.
Yeah, but now they can watch you really up close.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a poster and you put things out there,
Yeah.
somebody's going to see it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's where that was an inspiration from a Church of Christ minister. He said, I believe I'm losing as many because of that as anything else.
I think that even before social media, the critique of the person who looks at churchgoers has always said that. Has always said, well, I don't want to go to that church over there. I know so-and-so goes there, and I know something about him, and blah, blah. So we've always had that, which is not really a good excuse.
No.
And I guess that's my bone I'll pick.
Yeah. It's not.
Because, he may have been that, or may even be that.
Sure.
But church is a good place for him to be.
It's the best place in the world.
So, anyway.
I just slightly on church, I tell people all the time, what I enjoy about church is the fellowship. I love the message. I always hear the thing, you always don't remember the message, but you remember the songs. And there is just something about that, starting your week off with that good fellowship,
Well,
it means a lot to me.
I think we all need it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to find another one.
You're trying to find something that's controversial?
Well, not necessarily controversial,
Yeah.
just something to be fun or anything.
Sure.
Let's see. That was all right. What is this one right here with the big badge?
That was the Buford Pusser Festival.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe that's it.
Yeah, you're right. It is Buford Pusser Museum, which is a little closer to your neck of the woods.
Yeah, we the 2 weeks ago they had the Buford Pusser Festival, and
is that still a big thing?
It's really big right now because it's part of True Crime Network. About a year ago, they exhumed his wife's body to see who actually killed her, and a lot of points.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's still
Yeah, and a lot of the fingers are pointed at Buford now.
no way.
Yeah, so that's what that's about. Yeah, and it's that's one of my bigger stories. I'm waiting on the district attorney to release the TBIs.
So there's a suspicion that he killed his own wife?
Yes.
I thought, now, of course, I'm remembering the movie.
You remember Walking Tall?
I remember Walking Tall, the movie. She got killed in the car wreck.
Well, let me tell you what's funny is as I started working and investigating this about 3-4 years ago, I went over with Sheriff Buck, the current McNally County Sheriff, and he took me down to where it happened. And in the movie, they shoot him. It's like a
Oh, yeah, there's a shoot up, bang up, and then a big wreck.
Then a big wreck, and then he's standing outside, and they jump over a hill, and they shoot him. He takes me down to this flat spot right down from the church and by a bridge, and I said, "Where's that hill?" That's the movie, son.
There's no heel.
There's no heel. It didn't really happen that way. It happened close to that way, but not really that way. So there's a lot of stuff. The stick, Buford Buster known for carrying the stick.
Yeah.
He only carried the stick one time in his life.
Yeah. Well, but it made a good movie.
It's a movie, and if you go back into my post, that's what you'll see me say, is that Buford Buster was a man. He was a sheriff of the '60s. The times
And a product of the '60s.
And a product of the '60s, and he may not have been the best sheriff in the world. He may not have been the best man in the world, but he had a job to do in that time frame that wouldn't be appropriate today. But I'll tell you what I do know is that because of Buford Buster, there's a lot of really good lawmen today that want to pick up that badge and do that.
Well, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
just based on what you know, I mean, do you have any suspicion that it wasn't like they think it was, or?
Here's how I've explained it. It obviously didn't happen exactly like it was expressed because, now remember, Buford was a wrestler. It was Buford the Bear before.
That's right.
And I think after Pauline's death, he learned to sell the story. Bing Crosby Productions made the movie.
Right.
So if you look at his original statement, and then a statement a year later, and a statement 2 years later, and 3 years later, and 4 years later,
He grew the story.
he grew the story. And I believe that's why that people have a lot more doubt, is
Okay.
because it was inconsistent.
Well-
but if you take the entertainer in him,
Yeah.
you see what happened.
Yeah. That's a good analysis, because I have stories of my youth that I have expanded.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I think
It's gotten bigger over the years.
I think they're looking at Buford as walking tall and this over here and this over here. But you got to understand that there was also several books, movie deals, 3 movies, going to be a 4th movie.
Is there going to be another one?
There's actually one coming out in a few weeks.
You're got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I don't remember my dad ever going to any movie theater except one time he and I went to see that movie.
Walking tall.
Walking Tall.
That's good
He
to
wanted
know.
to go see that. That's the only movie that I can remember my dad ever going to see with me.
That is actually one of the coolest things because I often butt heads with a guy from Arkansas that's wrote Buford Buster, the other story.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to remind him that this is iconic here.
Yeah.
And it's I don't think, and I'll just tell you this, I was down at a place in Chihuahua, Tennessee, which is the southern part of McNairy County.
Yep.
And I asked a lady about 75 years old, I said, what you think about Buford Buster? She looked around at me and says, I wish y'all quit talking about Buford Buster and Mary Winkler. She said, McNairy County's a lot better than them two. And I thought, you know what? There's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah.
We want to ask about the bad. We
Yeah.
don't want to ask about the good.
Yeah.
And so that kind of has always stuck with me, is that we need to talk more about the good than the bad.
I had a real estate deal at some point that I had to go to that courthouse over there.
Yes.
And the old jail is right there underneath it.
It is.
So that was the Buford Buster Jail, I guess.
Yeah, and
McNairy County.
Actually, I've gotten to know one of the men that he fought to preserve. They were going to tear it down.
Oh, really?
And he said, hey, he said, in years to come, people are going to want to come see this, and we can
And
make some
they're
money.
right.
Yeah, and I'll show you something really funny. As I've done this, I met one of the historians and friends of Buford, and Wilder and I went over and met him, and he's getting older, and he sold me all the movie posters and a stick that Buford autographed for him. So this is Wilder, and I've titled it "Walking Short."
Oh, that's good.
He's got Buford's stick and all the.
Yeah,
movie
he's holding
posters.
the stick right there. I don't know if you can see that,
Yeah.
but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is that the stick from the movie?
No, that's just a stick that Buford made and gave to some of his friends.
All right. Well, I'm going to change the subject to another
Sure.
post. Here's one from Burt. I've been spending more time in Lawrence County,
Oh, I didn't know he was going to go there, buddy.
specifically St. Joseph.
Yes, sir.
For years of coverage, I thought I knew Lawrence County well. St. Joe is way down yonder. It's so far down yonder that the Amish don't go, laugh out loud. They also need a toll booth. Charge those Bama folks coming over to buy lottery tickets at Randy's. All that being said, I'll stay a while. That's pretty good. When I glanced at that and read the toll booth, I thought, Is that so? That's where the toll booth is, because I keep getting a message that I've not paid a toll. Do you get those?
Yeah, that's where it's at.
That's where it at, evidently.
Do you want a little explanation of that?
Yeah, let's hear what the explanation of that is.
Well, let's just go ahead and say it. I've met a young lady from Lawrence County. Been dating pretty seriously, and
Oh, okay.
I may be a St. Joe resident before in the next year. So, and I didn't know it's far down there. So yeah,
It is.
that's what that is.
It's a far piece.
Man, it's a far piece.
Let me tell you what else is a far piece.
What?
Is the road from Collinwood to Florence.
Matter of fact, she just learned that. Had to make me call with E.
I was there yesterday, and we went from Collinwood down 13 or Chisholm Road to Florence. I didn't think we was ever going to get there. We came within 14 miles of Lutz, Tennessee.
Yes, sir. You said it right.
Lutz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Lutz.
Yeah. Well,
And I told, this is what's funny, Daniel was with me. We had a road trip. Daniel was with me. He's helped me put up auction signs.
yeah.
And I said, Daniel, I've been to Lutz. I said, it is at the dropping off place.
It sure is.
And he said, dropping off place? He had never heard. He said, what's a dropping off place? And, I had to think about it, man. I don't know how to explain the dropping off place.
Yeah.
I said, basically, it's the end of the earth, and if you go further, you drop off. So
I have another version of that. I say they're so far back in the woods to get Monday Night Football on Tuesday.
yeah, it's way back there.
It is.
It's way back there. So anyway, very good. My guest today is Mr. Burt Staggs, Burton S. Staggs. Check him out on Facebook, and you can see the news stories that he covers, and they're interesting all. And if you especially, keep up with crime in a local regional area, and you cover, I guess, what, 3 states maybe?
Pretty much 3 states, being that we're pretty close.
So
to
Tennessee, Arkansas,
Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi.
Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi. You hadn't crossed the river much.
The Mississippi?
Yeah,
No, no. I just kind of stay there.
that's a good idea.
I've chased some tornadoes over there, but that's about it.
That's a good idea. All right. Been listening to the Friends and Neighbors Hour, and of course, we like to have guests. I appreciate you coming in, man.
Hey, I do, and can I just say,
Yeah.
This may have all began because of people like you and Ronnie and Ben, Charlotte, Roger. I mean,
Yeah.
so many. I don't think I'd be here without you guys. I learned a little bit from all of you and watching your family and what a good family man you are.
Oh, man, thank you.
As I grow and get older and see how important those things are, and I've tried to model a lot of things after you.
Well, thank you. That's nice of you to say. And hey, you got your brother Blake,
Yes.
and the other siblings?
Burt, Bart, Brad, Blake.
Yeah, you got a bunch of them.
Yeah, I got 4 B's.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
But Blake's the only one I know
Yeah,
besides you.
yeah.
But anyway, to all my best to all your family.
We appreciate it.
And till next time, maybe we'll have you again sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you, bud.
President Trump will speak to the General Secretary.
Hey, that was fun.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Oh.